In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at building out the controls for the legs. So let's start by building a couple IK handles. And this is going to, let me go ahead and delete this circle from my previous example. It's going to give us a controller that we can kind of bend the leg with. So let's go up to Skeleton, IK Handle tool, and open it up here. Or if you followed along in the last video, we created a shortcut on our tabs. In our one of our tabs, our custom tab. Now there's two different types of solvers on here. There's single chain and there's rotation planar solver. Single chain is good for if you're only doing from one bone to the next, or from a couple of bones, but you don't want to do any rotation on it. We do want to build a pull vector which will allow us to bend our knees later, so we want to make sure that we use a rotation planar solver. So let's just go ahead and create one from the hip to the ankle. And once that's made, if you hit W, you'll notice that you can actually bend the knees going this way. I'm going to go ahead and name this one left, so underscore left. And then I'm going to go ahead and click this again, make sure it's an RP solver. I'm going to make another one on the other side, and I'm going to name it underscore right. Okay, so the next part is we're going to go ahead and build a reverse foot controller. And so it makes it a little bit easier if we can hide these different components. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this image planes layer, and I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer here, and I'm going to double click it and just name it Leo underscore model, and hit save. And then I'm going to select my Leo model. Let's make sure mesh is selected up here. And then just right click here and do add selected objects. And then I'm going to make another layer, and I'm going to call this joints. And hit save, and then I'm going to select my root, and you can notice that I have the entire bone system selected. I'm going to right click and hit add selected objects. So now I can hide each one. Here's that. Let's go ahead and make sure that I added selected for Leo model. There we go. And here's the joint. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hide Leo for a second so we can focus on just the rig. So let's go ahead and go to our side view. What we want to do is create a reverse foot controller, and it looks a little bit like a roller skate. So the way you do that is you select your joint tool, and just below the ankle you create your first joint. Now I'm making the joint on this line here because I never want him to step below that line. So I'm going to click here, and notice how the center of my joint is on that line. Then I'm going to hold shift and click out here. So now I have a straight line. I want to put another joint just below the ball of the foot, and then one just below the ankle. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to lock that into place. Now I'm going to go to perspective mode, and I'm going to move it into just right on the line of my left foot. Okay. Now I'm going to do a lot of moving from that left foot controller here. So I'm just going to go ahead and name that ankle joint L underscore foot underscore controller. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Control D to duplicate it. Let's go to our front view, and let's just move it in place of the other foot, and then I'm going to change that L to an R, and I'm going to remove that 1 here. Okay. Now what we're going to do now is we want this foot controller, reverse foot controller, to control our foot. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to select this top bone, and I'm going to select, or first I'll select my IK handle, then I'm going to select this top bone here, and I'm going to go up to skeleton, or I'm sorry, constraint point, and I want to make sure maintain offset is checked so that it doesn't shift anything. I'm going to hit apply. Now what you'll notice is when I move this, so let's make sure that I might have to constrain it the other way. Let's select this, then this. Looks like I didn't. There we go. Select this and then this. And let's hit apply. There we go. So you want to select this joint first, the joint on my, and then on my reverse foot controller, and then the IK handle. Let's redo that step on the other side just to kind of make sure you got it. Select the bone that's on the reverse foot controller, so it's this top bone here. So I'm going to select that top bone, and then I'm going to select the IK handle, and I'm going to make sure that point constraint is open and maintain offset is checked. I'm going to hit apply. Okay. So now when I move this around, you'll notice it moves the entire foot. Let's try it on the other side one more time just to make sure it works. Perfect. The next thing I want to do is I want to be able to bend this bone here, and I want it to be able to bend this foot. So for example, when I rotate this around, I want to be able to bend this front toe, because we're going to be creating controllers that allow us to do foot rolls and foot twists and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and select the toe of the left controller. So we're looking at this guy right here. And then when we select that, we're going to go ahead and select the ball of the foot that we created earlier. See, it says left ball. And we're going to do a different kind of constraint. We're going to do an orient constraint. Make sure maintain offset is checked on and hit apply. So now, when I rotate this toe, you'll notice that the ball goes with it. Or if we select the root, for example, and I hit W, and I bring it down, you'll notice that the toe doesn't slide through the floor. It stays stationary, which is kind of cool. So just to kind of reiterate that process, I'm actually selecting the toe of my reverse foot controller on this side, and then the ball of my foot here. I'm going to go up to constraint, and I can just click on orient here, because it'll remember my last settings.
There we go. Boy, this has done something really strange now. It's okay. We will fix that right now.
Okay, so the next thing I want to do is select the ball of my controller here. So again, we're looking at our reverse foot controller here. Let me go ahead and hide everything but that so you can see it. So here's a reverse foot controller. I want to select the ball of my foot here, and then my ankle. And I'm going to go to constraint orient. Let's do that again for the ball of the foot here, and then the ankle, and I'm going to do constraint orient. So if we look at the rotation of that now, you can see we can rotate the foot. We can rotate it sideways. If we select this heel and we rotate it, you can see we get a nice foot roll there. We get a nice toe raise here. And if we want, we can actually do an entire kind of foot. Let's go ahead and maximize it. I'm pressing the plus key on my keyboard. So you get a little something like that. So let's go ahead and do that on the other side. I'm selecting the ball of the foot on the reverse foot controller, and then I'm selecting the ankle. Click constraint and orient. Alright. So that finishes this video. In the next one, we're going to talk about how to create an actual foot controller that'll do foot rolls and things like that for our Leo character.